Good afternoon. If you're just joining us, my name is Diane Dimkoff, and I'm the National Archives Researcher, Customer Support Director, and the Director for the Virtual Genealogy Fair. This is session number 3 for the 2016 fair, and the lecture title is National Archives Innovative Online Resources and Tools to Help with Your Genealogical Research. The presenters are Sarah Swanson and Kelly Osborne. They will provide an overview of the many National Archives tools and tools that we have available to help with genealogical endeavors, both for novices and experienced researchers alike. Ms. Swanson is a member of the web team, and Ms. Osborne is a community manager and web developer for the innovation at National Archives at College Park. I'm turning the broadcast over to Sarah Swanson and Kelly Osborne.
Hi. If you've ever come to the archives.gov website, you may have encountered our online survey. We receive a lot of comments from genealogists, and here's a sample. Trying to locate an ancestor in Pennsylvania, never able to get to the place to put in ancestor's name. Could not find an index of the 1930 census. Could not view immigration records of family members. I was looking for some passport and naturalization records online. I just never seemed to be able to find anything that I'm looking for. I could not get my eyes on any census documents. I could not find the magic button to view these documents. I couldn't find anything on this site. I'm not a professional genealogist, but I should have been able to locate something. So as you can see, a lot of genealogists are very frustrated. They assume that because we hold the records that we've digitized them all and made them name searchable. Unfortunately, that's not the case. NARA has not had the resources to do this, so we have partnered with some outside organizations to do this. This includes Ancestry.com, FamilySearch.org, and Fold3.com. And as you know, Ancestry.com and Fold3 are both subscription websites, but if they are available for free to use in any of our archival research rooms, as well as most public libraries, I believe, have subscriptions that you can use. Now, our agreements with our partners allow for, the terms of the agreements are that the NARA will receive copies of all the scans that our partners have done after a certain number of years, and then we will be putting them into the National Archives catalog. They may not be name searchable for a while, but that is a hope that we have for the future. We do have our partnerships agreements online if you're interested. I've put the URL down below. However, the archives.gov is still, we still have some great resources for genealogists. We have a lot of tutorials and guides to getting started, including videos. You can learn, we have articles and reference papers where you can learn how to research in different records and learn about some new records that you may not have known existed. As well as through things like photos and maps, you can get some good historical, put in some good historical context for your family stories. I'm going to be going through a lot of slides here. The URLs will be at the top of each slide, so you can easily go back to the pages if you're interested. Let's see. When you first come to archives.gov, click on Research Our Records. I recommend you go straight to the genealogy portal, and you can find a link on the main research page. At the bottom, there's a button for Research Your Ancestry. So, and then this is the main genealogy portal page. And I'm going to first show you the Start Your Genealogy Research page. And right at the top there is a great tutorial, a PowerPoint slideshow on beginning your genealogical research at the National Archives. And then in this area that's circled, I linked to some of the main record types that genealogists usually use that go to our topic pages in these areas. And I'm going to show you one example. If you click on military records, this page will link you to all the various wars. And I'm going to show you specifically the Civil War page. Now our website recently moved into a Drupal content management system about 2 weeks ago. So we will have all sorts of new functionality and the improved layout and presentations in the next, you should notice some great improvements in the coming months. Now on these main topic pages, we try to incorporate resources from all over the agency that relate to the topic, because many offices at NARA have created genealogical help resources. So, and then, let's see. Whoops. Okay, well, on these topic pages at the top usually link to, if there is a main research guide, we'll link to that. And then below we have a lot of subtopics. And these are our new, this new functionality. You can click on, these are called accordion menus, and you can click on one subtopic and it opens up and you see all kinds of articles or photos and finding aids that relate to the various subtopics. On the Start Your Genealogical Research page, we also have a link to videos from our Know Your Records series. These are genealogical workshops, and NARA has a YouTube channel where we've started to put recordings from the various workshops. You can see here there's one on Introduction to Census Records, and let's see, Freedmen's Bureau records. So that link specifically will filter on this page by Know Your Records, but you could also put in census there, or immigration, or catalog if you wanted to filter it in a different way. Also on the Start Your Genealogy Research page, we've also linked to the previous sessions from the virtual genealogy fair. This is the 4th year, so we already have 3 years of great recordings of various sessions that you can refer back to, because we can't cover everything this year, so you may want to look back at previous years, and the handouts are there as well. And the arrow at the top will take you right back to the genealogy main page. That's called our breadcrumb navigation, so an easy way to go back. Okay, now I want to show you our records digitized by our partners page. And we've listed all the records here that Ancestry.com, Fold3, and Family Search have digitized from NARA's records. The page is, it's a very long list at this point, and it's in order by microfilm number. And so you can either find it, if you want to find out if a certain series has been digitized, you can either find the microfilm number from our microfilm catalog, or you could look for a finding aid that lists it. Our other suggestion is that you can do Control F and put in a keyword here and search for that word on this page. And I've done an example here. Say I wanted to see if passenger lists into Baltimore for in the 1850s are online. So you can see in the upper right, I did Control F, typed in Baltimore, and sure enough, it shows me that M255 had our passenger list into Baltimore, and I see that Ancestry.com and Family Search have both digitized them. Okay, next I want to show you, we have reference reports for genealogy. And you can see all some of the topics that have been covered. I'm going to show you an example here. These are brief 1 to 4 page reports that typically give you the relevant microfilm roll numbers, and occasionally they'll also list original records that have not been microfilmed. I'll show you just one for an example. If we click on Revolutionary War, you can see there's microfilm rolls for compiled military service records, pension and bounty land warrants, and then other records. And under the other records, you might find some records that you didn't know about, some new sources for you to check out. We have our most popular topics right here on the main genealogy portal page. I also wanted to show you the ethnic heritage topics page. We are actively adding more content to this, so you should check back regularly. Right now, I just want to show you the Native American and African American sections briefly. If you click on Native Americans, we have they have a whole great section for genealogists, and if you click on researching an individual or family, we've got over 100 pages of great content on how to research all relevant records, including Indian Census, Indian Scouts, the Dawes rolls and other rolls, and Indian schools. So if you're interested in these records, I highly recommend you view the Know Your Records presentation on our YouTube channel from January of this year, and I've included the link there. There was also a session on this new guide in the 2014 Genealogy Fair. And then our African American research section has some really helpful information for getting started in these records. And I also wanted to show you that just last week we posted a whole new guide to Black history. And there is some helpful genealogical information in this guide. If you click on the Browse by Record Group or Collection at the bottom, it takes you to the different record groups organized by cluster. And in the genealogical cluster, as an example, I clicked on Bureau of the Census, and it takes you to a whole list of relevant series in the National Archives catalog. So this might be helpful for you. Let's see. Okay, and we have a page with more extensive list of topics related to genealogy here. And one, I wanted to just point out one more, the State Department Records of Genealogical Interest. And the session at 2 o'clock today will be addressing these particular records. But I just wanted to show you that they do have their own webpage here. And there's a discussion of passport applications, visa applications, birth, marriage, and death notices for Americans living abroad. And let's see, and then back on the main genealogy portal page, at the bottom, there's a link to the History Hub. And this is our new crowdsourcing tool where you can ask and answer research questions. And Kelly will be talking about this as soon as I'm finished here. And then we also have a link to scan records in the hub. And the Innovation Hub is a new office in Washington, D.C., and it includes a large scanning room where the public can come in and scan NARA's records that are in the archives. We're focusing now on 19th century military records, primarily War of 1812 and Civil War, pension, bounty land, and service records. Since we opened in July of 2015, about 80,000 pages have been digitized by members of the public, and that represents about 3,500 different files. And the benefit of doing this, of coming in to scan your records, is that you will be able to bring home all the scans for free, as well as within a couple weeks, the records will be uploaded into the National Archives catalog, so you'll be able to access them anytime. And And then lastly here, I wanted to point you out to the link to the genealogy-related articles. Now this will take you out to our publications section and specifically into the Prologue magazine. And there's a series of articles that are called Genealogy Notes. And as you can see here, there's lots of different topics that have been addressed. And for instance, under African American history, there's, let's see, you can learn about doing research on ancestors from the West Indies, or Buffalo Soldiers and Black infantrymen. Let's see, under census, there's some articles on, let's see, U.S. Census schedules for Americans living overseas, or the forgotten federal census of 1885, Native Americans in the census. So there's a lot of really great information in these articles. Under immigration and naturalization, there's an article on find out about the alien files. Then there's one about U.S.-Canadian border crossings. And while you're in the Prologue magazine section, you may want to look beyond just the genealogy notes articles and go to the, if you click on previous issues, you'll see a comprehensive list, and that may not have made it into genealogy notes. So here's one on your family archives, preserving textiles. So you never know what you may find in here. It's worth browsing through. There's also a special issues link. And then also within the publications section, I recommend you click on all publications, because under the by type, there are several finding aids that are hidden in here. I'll show you one example. If you click on reference information papers, you'll see there's papers on Black family research, military service records, using civilian records for genealogical research. Now, all of these top reports should be linked from the various topic pages, but I still recommend you look through here. You might find something unexpected. And to leave the publications area to go back to the main research section, you click on the research or records at the top. And now we're on the main research portal page, and there's a link here to the National Archives catalog. Now about 95% of our records have been described in the catalog. However, that's mostly at a really high level, at the series level. So if you type in your ancestor's name, it's probably not likely you will find anything at this point. However, we will be growing exponentially within the next couple years. Just within the last year, we've put in about 10 million new images. And as the scans that are digitized by our partners start to come to us, we will be uploading them, and so we may be up to 500 million images in about 2 years. So we will provide updates to you on what's been put into the catalog on our Digitized by Partners page. Let's see. There are some exceptions to names being in the catalog. For instance, I think Leavenworth prison records are in there. There's about 800,000 alien case files in here. And also, I think about 50,000 Fort Smith, Arkansas court case files. So, and some other assorted things, including all the 80,000 pages that were scanned by citizens in our hub. Now, our catalog also has a new interface, and you can see the URL to go directly to this page up here at catalog.archives.gov. And this would enable you to actually log in and get some new expanded functionality with tagging and transcribing. And the presentation at 1 o'clock today will go into more detail about how to do this. And there is a guide on using the online catalog on this web page. And at the bottom of this page, it gives you some ideas for what keywords to put in to get some results. Instead of using a name, you can look at a higher level, for instance, put in a military unit or a town name and maybe have some more luck. Also on the main research page, I wanted to show you the link to access to archival databases, which is known as AAD. And this belongs to our, this is from our electronic records office. And let's see, this is their main web page. And now this is an exception. This is actually a part of the website where you can put in individual names and get results. So if you click on their link to genealogy personal history, it's a very extensive list of data sets that you can search on individually. If I just clicked on passenger list records, I just did an example here. If I clicked on records for passengers who arrived at the Port of New York during the Irish famine, let's see, about 1846 to 1851, I put in the name Langton, and 35 records came up, and you can see you get the name, age, ship name, and arrival date. And the electronic records folks have also put up a web page that has more detail on all of the data sets that would be helpful for genealogists. And here's an example of the World War II. They have enlistment records, casualty records, POWs. You can see, if you're interested in exploring AAD more, I highly recommend you view their in-depth sessions from the Genealogy Fair in the last 2 years. And there's also a Know Your Records workshop video available online. And you can also email them directly with any questions. Okay, now I want to show you some of the great finding aids that our regional archives have prepared. Let's see, if you can click on Visit Us from basically anywhere in the website, and it'll take you there. And then here you can filter. If you click on Research Facilities, it'll filter just those, filter down. I've listed, but I think an easier way is just to go to the footer on that page, and there's a link to each facility. Now, the regional archives each handle a certain number of states, typically right in their region, and they hold unique records from local federal offices. So you might be most interested in viewing the finding aids for the facility that handles the states where your ancestors lived. And I'm going to quickly just show you a sampling of some of the finding aids that you can find here. In Atlanta, I've circled the states that they cover. And if you click on Research Guides and Resources, and then here you can see all the different topics of finding aids they have. I clicked on African American history, and they have slave manifests for various towns and listed by slave owner as well as alphabetical by slave name. They have Tuskegee patient medical files indexed by name. They have Atlanta federal penitentiary case files, name indexes. And then here's Kansas City. They serve Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska. And they have a whole link here to name indexes and the subject list. I'm going to show you, they have an example here. I click on Iowa alien personal history statements, and by name, birthplace, nationality. They have the Pipestone Indian student files indexed by name, the name index to canceled, rejected, and relinquished land entry files for several towns. They have a naturalization index for several cities as well. This is, and then Denver, if you click on online finding aids, they have a last name index to naturalization records for New Mexico. Fort Worth, you click on Research Guides and Resources, and they have a growing list of finding aids. And for an example here, I clicked on district court records in Oklahoma, and it took me to a section on naturalization records. If I click on naturalization certificates, takes me right into the National Archives catalog, and there you can see that there's a link to Ancestry, so it shows you that these have been digitized. We do have a comprehensive page that lists the finding aids from all the different regional archives. However, I recommend that you go directly to the regional locations web page, finding aid web page instead, because just it's likely that will be the most up-to-date source. We also have a page on free databases at the National Archives facilities. On the left here are all the subscriptions that we have that you can come in and use at any of in the archival research rooms around the country. And then the free everywhere links go to, you can see the Family Search, Ellis Island, New York Chinese Exclusion Index, and some other databases. Now, we also have I showed you before the genealogy topics page, but we also have a broader research topics page, and although these are not specific to genealogy, you may find some other information, topics here that can help you in your research. For instance, exploration and westward expansion, or cities and states. Okay, now down at the bottom, in the footer of both the genealogy section and the broader research section, there's some great additional links to resources. If you click on by media type, I want to show you some of the resources from our photographs, and still pictures, and cartographic units. If you click on photographs, you will see a list of selected photos on topics that can be of interest to genealogists. I will show you some examples here. Now, all of these should be in the catalog as well now. And so there's a lot more in the catalog than just on these select pages. But here you can see a covered wagon heading west, and a ranch in Montana. Pictures of the Civil War. We have a lot of pictures showing the soldiers in everyday doing everyday activities outside of fighting. That can add some color to your story. Pictures of the Revolutionary War. Obviously, these aren't photos, but there's a lot of scenes from different battles that your ancestors may have fought in. If you have ancestors that were in the Navy, we have pictures of Navy ships from all the different centuries that you can explore. We have pictures of American cities from different centuries. Right here is New York City and New Orleans, Sacramento, and a town in Connecticut. There is a still pictures guide online that gives more detail on the different records they have. And here's some links into the catalog with some of the series that have been of particular interest to genealogists. Next, I want to show you some resources from our cartographic unit. Let's see. Genealogists often use maps at NARA for getting the census enumeration district maps, township survey plats, military maps of battlefields. There's captured and abandoned property during the Civil War maps. And they have a guide online, and I've put the URL at the top there where you can get more detail. We have a whole guide to Civil War maps on our website right here. Okay, next I'm going to show you the link to the Archives Library Information Center, and this is known as ALEC. And the librarians in ALEC have put together some wonderful pages under Reference at Your Desk, and they have a specific genealogy page. And as you can see, the benefit of these pages is besides linking to NARA resources, they're also linking to many external resources. So, as you can see here, they have how to do genealogy, and the section on state archives and vital records, and besides just their genealogy page, they also have wonderful pages on military resources and a lot more. Also, in the footer, you'll find a link to our Researcher News newsletter. And if you want to be kept up to date on great news for researchers at NARA, this is I highly recommend you subscribe to the newsletter. The recent issue, for instance, had a great article on updates to the National Archives catalog. They had an article on what's new in AAD databases, as well as information on what's going on with the Innovation Hub scanning project with the War of 1812 scans. So you can subscribe by going to the Researcher News main page, and there's an arrow going to the link where you subscribe. Up at the top arrow there is linking to our blogs. And I believe this link the blog link should be found throughout the website at the top there. Offices throughout NARA are now creating their own blogs, and several of these have really helpful genealogical content. I know Narrations has several articles related for genealogists, and I'm just going to show you one example here on the text message blog, which is developed by our textual records unit. One more thing is there are links here to subscribe, so you're free to subscribe to any of these. The text message blog has a whole genealogy category on the right, and I clicked on that, and here's an article on where to begin researching War of 1812 and one on accessing veterans records. So you may find some really helpful information in here. Most of what I've been talking about are linked to from these two web pages, the Genealogy Resources and Online Research Tools and Aids. And feel free to send us any of your suggestions for how we can improve our website. You don't have to wait to get our online survey to let us know what ideas you have. We regularly do incorporate the public's our public feedback. So thank you very much. And now Kelly will talk to you more about the History Hub.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm Kelly Osborne, and we recently launched this project, History Hub, that started as a conversation in on our internal network for the National Archives. Someone was talking about Thanksgiving, and they were saying that they had just come back from hanging out with their family, and their family asked, well, how are things going at the Library of Congress? So we get that all the time. Nobody knows the difference between the Smithsonian, Library of Congress, National Archives. And so we started thinking, do we need a branding campaign? How can we teach the public what the differences are? But then we decided we don't actually need a branding campaign. We're the government, we're not Coke and Pepsi. So how instead can we help the public? We also have the problem of when you go into the reference rooms, sometimes the access to information you get depends on who you reach. You may reach the person who is the perfect person to answer your niche question, or you may have a different, you may not get the exact person that you need if you're in person. We also have the issue of duplication of effort. For us internally, if we answer the same questions, we may be answering them again and again and again. So it's an internal problem too. The solution, we thought, was what if we try to create a platform that mirrors what tech companies are doing, how tech companies are answering questions. So what is History Hub? It's the result of ongoing research into how other organizations communicate with and serve their audiences. We researched the federal government internal and external platforms for about maybe 2 years altogether. It's also a place where researchers and genealogists can engage with subject matter experts at NARA, not just NARA, but in the field. We have professors on the network and also genealogy experts. It's a crowdsourcing platform. It's got discussion areas and blogs and community pages. And it's also a way for the public and professional historians and citizen experts to engage with and collaborate with each other. Our primary audiences are genealogists, researchers, and veterans, because these are also the people who are most likely to be looking for information on our website. We've got a couple interesting discussions that have come up recently. This one I love. So this may take just a minute to open on the internet, the interwebs. You know, it would be hilarious if we don't actually have access to it. Oh, yay, it opened. Diane's like, don't say that, you do not jinx us. Okay, so here's an example that we love. Somebody in the Netherlands asked, where can she find a picture of this captain? She had adopted his headstone at an American cemetery, and she wanted to have a picture of what it looked like when she's caretaking. So we have our internal experts who are trying to help her, like how you would research this through the National Archives. It was great. They gave her great information. But what was really awesome is this guy actually found the picture for her. He said, try this link. It's not a very good picture, but he uploaded it on a file sharing, image sharing site. And it ended up being the exact person that she was looking for. And she was like, you know, delighted. She had this picture where she puts flowers down. Okay, then, Okay, we also have tons of genealogists. Here we have, I won't click on the link because now I'm a little nervous, but a novice family historian was looking for a relative who had immigrated to America in the early 1900s from Denmark. Because she was a novice family historian, she didn't know that sometimes people's names get changed. So she asked a question. I think within a couple of days, somebody had answered that the name change may have been like these 4 possibilities and linked to it on, I think it was like Ancestry or something like that. And within 2 days after that, she ended up finding a relative on Facebook. That was pretty awesome. And then we also have a surprising number of people from other countries. I guess not so surprising, since surprising for us. We weren't really expecting that because we're the National Archives in America, but you know, we've got a lot of people who are international, so we have questions that are asked and answered in different languages, which is pretty awesome. So how does it work? You can just go, as Sarah was saying, you can find the link on our website, or you can just type in historyhub.archives.gov. This is what it looks like. And it works, like I said, our research found that technology companies were doing a really good job of addressing consumer researchers. So, like, for example, if you have a problem with your phone and you Google, how do I back up my phone? It probably takes you to a platform that's very similar to this, where you can type in, how do I back up my phone? Or you can search, or Google will take you directly to a discussion where someone has already asked that question. And you can see answers from people who are just like, you know, you and me, or it can be people who are experts who will chime in. Sometimes, as we found on the question from the Denmark question, sometimes the answers that professionals give may not be actually as helpful as one of your peers, because they kind of have different tracks of research. So anyway, how does it work? You go here and you can just type in a question like, how do I, and don't be like totally type A. If you start typing and just pause for a fraction of a second, the other similar questions will come up, like here I'm searching for my great-grandfather. Someone is saying, he's got this question about, very, very specific question, but his question is difficult to answer because of the way he's asking it. So we can kind of help guide this person to not just better research, but asking questions that will yield more fruitful answers. And here we've got other people who are, you can see when someone answers from the National Archives, they've got a little icon here that indicates that they're from the National Archives. So we've got several different areas of help. These are expanding. We're trying to let the community lead us, but we've got a very active genealogist group here, where you can see some of the questions that people are asking, and we've got one of our archivists on staff who occasionally writes blog posts for it. You can see people looking for. Oh, this is nice. Someone was looking for a passenger list for Port Plymouth in the 1600s, and one of our archivists gave information that was very specific and helped this person. What we especially love is when community members are able to help each other, but we're also really looking for how we can help people as well. All right. Oh, and also I should say it's really easy to ask a question. You do have to, when you start to ask a question, so here you can, from pretty much any of the main pages, you can start asking a question. So you'll be like, how do I, if you don't see something similar in the search results, you can just click ask it, but you will need to log in. You'll need to have a login and password. It's really easy to create an account. It takes like 5 seconds. And then you can have, you can ask questions and also help answer them. Okay, so what's in it for you? You can find answers to your questions before you ask them. We've got a couple of bloggers on the platform who are blogging how to ask better questions, and the more you kind of see how the responses that people get, you can kind of get ideas about where your researcher can take you. One of the things I super love about this platform is that questions can get more answers as time goes on. So if you're in a one-to-one email conversation, you ask a question, you get an answer, and then you may have a certain amount of back and forth, but it's not going to be something where either of you can devote months. But a question on History Hub will stay there, even if it looks like it's been answered. It will stay there and can continue to collect answers, because it's still Googleable. If someone is Googling and they have certain questions that, or certain information that can be helpful to your question, they can include it. You also have the opportunity to connect and communicate with other people who are interested in genealogy. So like we have people who are retired who will spend time on the network, just like looking up answers on Ancestry, for example. And you can post crowdsourcing opportunities, not just like, can someone help me find this picture, but if you need help with identification or transcription. So our next steps is right now, so this is super new. We just launched it in January and we're still considering this a pilot. We're still collecting information. So if you have feedback about how this doesn't really work for me or whatever, or this works great, do more of this, that's super helpful. So we're looking at how to move from pilot to like something that's more incorporated into our research question workflow. We're also working toward changing the URL to history.gov, so it'll be a lot easier to remember. You can right now type in history.gov and it'll redirect you to the network. So if you can't find the link on our website, or you can't remember historyhub.archives.gov, just type in history.gov. We're also looking at partnering with the Smithsonian and Library of Congress and state, local national history organizations and also genealogical societies as well, to kind of to make this more of a you have a question, you can get help. It doesn't matter where the help comes from. It's just all on the same platform. So that's basically it. Are there questions?
Thank you very much. Sarah, if you might want to come up to the front with Kelly, and we'll ask a few questions that we've gotten. We're moderating them so that they're about online content.
Great.
First question is there a way for me to scan documentation I have, add a citation using evidence explained formats, and submit it to the National Archives?
For, to scan it where? From, that's a really interesting question. It's a question about how do you, I'm assuming it's about how do you get scanning something from the National Archives?
Unfortunately, we don't have an explanation. It just says, is there a way for me to scan documentation I have, add a citation using evidence-explained formats, and submit it to the National Archives?
That is a great question. What you're going to want to do is wait for the next session, which is on citizen archivists.
And Kelly is giving a thumbs up to our next presenters who are in the room. Next question, can experts who aren't National Archives staff be identified in the system?
Yes, we're totally looking at how do we do that. So we're working on a process of, so we want to have experts who are identified as experts. They'll have like a badge. So if they're from the Smithsonian or Library of Congress, they'll have a Smithsonian or Library of Congress badge. We're working on how do you identify an expert who's, say, a professor or someone who has extensive experience elsewhere. So we're working on that. If you have suggestions, please email. We'd love to hear it. But we're working on that for version 2 of the network.
Thank you both. So that concludes our question part, but I want to let you know that you have a lot of compliments, and they're just overwhelmed by the amount of information that you've provided, and they plan to watch your session over and over again, which you can do, because we'll leave this video up forevermore. Thank you. And here,
Thank you.
I'll turn this over to Diane.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, our next session starts at 1 o'clock, and so I'm sure those of you at home need some kind of break at this point, so we'll see you in about 15 minutes.